The 4 biggest pain points when selling on Amazon as a vendor and how to solve them. So vendor often sounds like the dream. You're getting those bulk purchase orders coming through, you're getting that regular income, and it sounds like it's, to many people, the promised land. But the truth is, it's becoming a really hard platform to work on. Margins are being squeezed, you're being charged and fined because you're not able to manage shipments in a certain way. And so I'm going to talk about those 4 big pain points today and give you some tips on how you can navigate them. Pain point number 1, the margin squeeze. So it's that time of year, we're in October now, and when it comes to December, typically Amazon will come knocking on your door asking for an improvement to their terms. Whether that's improving their damage allowance, whether that's in reducing your cost prices, they are going to ask for some form of improvement to your current trading terms. And so one key thing that you should always make sure that you look at, which is something that Amazon doesn't look at, or they might look at and don't necessarily share that with you, is they might say to you, okay, your net PPM isn't fantastic and actually we need you to reduce these costs, or we need to increase this allowance to accommodate and bring up your overall margin. When truth is that it might be one SKU within your range that is creating your overall PPM to start shrinking. And that's what you need to start looking at. You need to look at your numbers and your margins at product level, because it could be that you've got one product that's driving 70% of your sales and Amazon is making no money on it, and it completely distorts your overall account. So when Amazon comes knocking and asking for improvements, make sure you're doing that line level detail to understand the profitability of every single SKU. Pain point number 2, chargebacks and shortage chaos. So you are not only having Amazon knock on your door for improvements to your terms, but you're losing money because you're not necessarily shipping on time, or you are not sending your ASNs in time, or you are not basically adhering to Amazon's requirements when it comes to shipping your goods, and as a result you are being fined by Amazon, and this costs brands tens and thousands and even hundreds of thousands. And if you think about that money you're wasting on that could be money that you could put into your advertising. And so it's really important as a vendor that you are keeping an eye on your chargebacks. You're reviewing your chargebacks on a monthly basis, identifying if there are any patterns, if there is anything you can do to resolve them as well. It's also not being afraid to challenge Amazon. If you disagree with some of the chargebacks or there's a fundamental reason, make sure that you are trying to claim them back. And also there are some great software tools out there that can do it for you, or companies that can do it, because of course it is resource heavy. So make sure that you are keeping an eye on your chargebacks, because there's definitely ways in which you can bring that down. And as I said, think about the money that you're wasting on chargebacks and where else you could put that into the business to get a greater return on your investment, because there's definitely no investment when you're losing money on chargebacks. Pain point number 3, control of your pricing. Now this is a huge one for Amazon vendors, and often the reason why vendors go to the seller side, because when you are selling to Amazon as a vendor, you can't control your pricing. Amazon decide on what they should sell your products for, and Amazon will make that decision based on what your product is being sold at on other retailers, and so they will automatically be price matching against your products. Now if you are offering a promotion to another retailer and Amazon drop the price to match them, they will probably come knocking on your door asking for price protection. So always think about that if you're offering your product at a reduced rate to another retailer. But sometimes what happens is Amazon don't actually price match correctly. And so that can obviously put you in hot water, because Amazon start dropping the price. They're knocking on your door asking for price protection. and they're asking for price protection on something that you're not even reducing. So you can end up in lots of hot water, and this is a subject I could talk about for hours, and probably will have my own next episode on how to manage those pricing challenges with Amazon. But one other point that I do want to make is you do need to be careful with your distribution, because what can happen if you end up selling to every retailer under the sun, some of those retailers might choose to promote your product or reduce it heavily. And if that happens and you are not supporting that reduction, an Amazon price match, that's going to cause a lot of upset across the industry. Now, of course, you can't control pricing, but at the same time, you don't want that conflict happening. And so just make sure that whenever you're selling your products, and you always keep an eye of your distribution. Over distributing your product will bite you. So make sure you are selective in the products that you're selling to your customers. Pain point number 4, the black hole of communication when dealing with Amazon vendor support. So sometimes you can feel like you're bashing your head against a brick wall. No disrespect to anyone working within vendor support at Amazon, but it does feel like you're either getting template responses or you're being passed around and you're not actually getting the answers that you need, which can be extremely frustrating, especially for minute issues that you almost know how to resolve, but you don't have access to the back end to be able to resolve them. So in those circumstances, it really depends on the support you have at Amazon. If you're a large brand and you have access to a vendor manager, or you are paying for an AVS, then make sure any issues that you have and any support tickets that you raise with vendor support, make sure you are logging them and you have the IDs so you can pass them on internally to Amazon so they can escalate them. If you are a smaller vendor, you're a bit in one of those challenging situations where you haven't necessarily got that internal support to help you. So in those situations, it's good to start working with agencies that almost know how to speak with Amazon. It's not to say that they have the answers and they'll get the immediate resolution, but you've got to think about all the time that you lose with that back and forth vendor support. Is it worth your team managing that, or is that something that you should be outsourcing? So the reality check. As you can see with many of the pain points, you can get quite lost into there being many different issues when it comes to managing your account with Amazon, but the overall goal is growth. And so you want to be focusing on areas that are going to allow you to grow the business. But if you're continually in reactive stage where you're contacting vendor support, or you are struggling with Amazon on the pricing side, they've done an incorrect price match and you're constantly resolving those issues. Yes, those issues are impacting your business, but they're distracting you on where you want to go overall. So just make sure that you have the right teams in place and the right resource that allows you to focus on the business long term and not just be in a state of firefighting. And that's where it often comes in, is to, as I said, thinking about outsourcing, or of course just making sure that you have the right bottoms on the right seats. So you're probably thinking, I have all those issues, and if you don't, please contact me, because I'd love to hear what you're doing if you are a vendor and not experiencing any of those pain points, because you have definitely mastered it. So if you are thinking, I am struggling with Amazon as a vendor, we have 2 ways in which we can help you. We have, first of all, Vendor Society, which is a global community of Amazon vendors where they come together in-person and virtual events, and they share their experiences, best practices, and really it's a bit of a therapy session, but it's where fellow vendors get together and help one another and become support for one another in finding solutions to these common challenges, some of which I've spoken about. There's also eCommerce Nurse. So go to ecommercenurse.com, and we are an Amazon agency. So we can help you with a number of different pain points that I mentioned and even more. We can help you with your vendor support. We can help you with your vendor negotiations. We can help you with your pricing and distribution strategy. So if you need more help, please reach out to us at ecommercenurse.com.